Hello and welcome to Behind the Brush, the show where we explore the world of art. I'm Anton Wright.
And I'm Eleanor Regan. In today's show we'll be looking at textiles. As one of the oldest art forms, how is it still relevant today?
We'll be talking to independent artists, shop owners, historians and communities to see if the traditional elements of textiles are dying out.
But first we go to a shop in the heart of the knitting community to see how it is evolving.
Crochet is where you have one hook and you make one stitch at a time. Knitting is where you have two needles and you have all your stitches lined up on one needle and you work steadily across them. It's all just sticks and string, but you get a very different fabric depending on which one you choose.
My name's Annie Brown and I make paintings from unspun wool. Needle felting is making felt with a barbed needle which tangles the wool fibres together. After many times of needle punching, which is another name for it, it becomes felt. I think it's a craft that's increasing. I run workshops and it seems to be something that people are taking up as a regular hobby.
Knitting is definitely not a dying craft. New people want to learn all the time. Our beginner lessons are nearly always sold out, especially for crochet. So needlecraft it's undergoing a resurgence, and it always is. The internet has made a huge difference to the art of knitting because there's so many social media sites such as Instagram and Twitter inspiring people to try new things because they've seen a picture of someone else making it. Or there's groups like Ravelry, which is like Facebook for knitters, and it's got well over 4 million people part of it, all helping each other out, all sharing patterns and things to do with their love of craft. And if you were sat there reading a pattern and it had a terminology you didn't know, you'd be stuck before, whereas now you can just go on YouTube and about 30 people have showed you how to do it. So that makes learning new things really easy.
Yarn bombing is public street art using crochet or knitting. Yarn bombing is a bit of everything. It is graffiti. It isn't something that I get permission for all the time, in which case I am putting something up in the street that's not supposed to be there. And it is an art form. It's something people can get up there and touch. Last year I made a golden sunshine and I put it up on Jesus Green Bridge in Cambridge. And I put a message with it saying that often people found the dark time of the year quite difficult. It could be challenging. It was coming up to Christmas, and that this sunshine was for them. And a couple of weeks later, I was working on my next piece in the local pub, and a woman who was in the pub on a regular basis for a certain reason, and I didn't know well, kind of beckoned me over, and she gave me a huge hug. And she asked me very quietly, she said, "Was that you that made the sunshine on the bridge? You saved my life." She'd gone there that night to jump off the bridge, and seeing that sunshine and the message was enough to stop her jumping off the bridge. And it was extremely powerful that something I thought was so small was a small piece of art that I'd put up to make people smile had actually saved her life.
We've heard that the internet is creating a resurgence in knitting and crochet. Knitting has also evolved into a street art.
But what about a more traditional form of art? Quilting has been around for hundreds of years, but what is keeping this art form alive?
A quilt is defined as an item with 3 distinct layers. That's a backing, a layer of wadding and a front layer. Quilting is the action of taking the needle through the 3 layers. The Master's Wives quilt, which you can see behind me, was made in 1892, and it was made by a group of ladies for a royal wedding. I think they tell us quite a lot about the social history in the past. I think now they probably tell us about people as artists and people as makers of art.
I'm here at Grantchester Village Hall, meeting the Cambridge Quilters and Elizabeth Ingle, who will show us some of their beautiful work.
Cambridge Quilters is a group of like-minded quilters, and we began more than 30 years ago with a small group of women meeting in each other's homes. Since then the group has grown. 20 years ago there were 20 of us, and now we're nearly 100. Fidget quilts or fiddle quilts, we produce those for care homes, and at the moment we've got 15 that will be going to a local care home where we hope they'll be used and enjoyed and make life a little sweeter. We make Cot Quilts for the neonatal unit, and we probably take 50 small quilts there each month. One of our members has actually produced a quilt with her name on it, and the parents chose to call their baby after Mari, so that's a really nice thing. We also produce them for Christmas, so that every baby who's born on Christmas Day gets a quilt and a stocking, which is lovely because it's at the start of what we hope will be a happy, healthy life. You only have to look around this room to see the fantastic quilts that have been produced, or visit something like the Festival of Quilts in Birmingham and see just hundreds of quilts on display. I think quilting is definitely not a dying art, it's definitely something for the future.
It's not the independent artists keeping quilting alive, but it's the social aspects of its communities and its generational exchange.
But what other forms of textiles are passed down to the younger artists?
Cambridge Fashion School started because I'm a fashion designer of 27 years, and I've always been passionate about fashion, and I really feel that the education system and the youth of today aren't really given the opportunities that I was given when I was younger. I think what is a little bit worrying is obviously now arts and particularly design within education has been cut by the government, and I think that's something which I feel really strongly about. And I think children aren't given a chance these days to actually experience their more creative side. But I think what children do need, they need one-to-one, actually seeing you physically do it with them. And I think nothing can beat actually doing on a one-to-one every week kind of basis, like what I do here on an after-school basis.
I want to be a designer when I'm older, like design clothes for hopefully a big brand.
Kath helps us to kind of understand it, but she doesn't do everything for us.
So we research like all the clothes we want to make and like what the fabric we need, how much it will cost.
Really, they guide me, the children. They have an idea of what they like, what they don't like. I'm just here to help them fulfill their designs and their ideas. So really, I'm like the vessel that helps them achieve what they want to achieve, and just hopefully give them the skills to be able to do that. Fashion is not a dying art, it's still very real, it's still very current. I think how fashion is tying in now with art and architecture, I think it's just become part of the arts. I think that the marriage of old and new is really important, because I think the older generation has lots of experience and the younger generation can learn from that. And I think you should never separate the two, because I think the two just sort of marry and merge together really well.
While some areas of textiles are solely surviving through the social aspects of their communities, others are thriving and evolving thanks to the internet and how skills are passed down to others.
Join us next time for another episode of Behind the Brush, where we'll be exploring pottery and if the art is in the creation or the finished product.
We hope you've enjoyed the show. See you next time.